And I believe that we are live. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Alternative Money Mondays here on the Ledgerama channel. I'm joined today by Caitlin Lance of Creative Coast, my dedicated and talented partner, Rob Keynes, the CTO of Wallawallet, Tim Mungai, our main man out there in Kenya and helping me out with the social media stuff these days. And we are also joined by one of our locals, Lou Fang. Hey, Lou. Welcome to the party, and if you feel like jumping in there, go ahead and jump right on in. My name's Jeremy Fletcher. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a small software company called Ledgerama. We are, of course, in the cryptocurrency business in this HBAR world, and we got some big news to announce this week. Excited to have it. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll just go ahead and dive right in here. All right, so in typical fashion, I'll start it off with the Market Mondays. So we had a little bit better of a 7-day. Unfortunately, Brandon, the HBAR bull, was not able to join us this week and do his fantastic market analysis. He's busy with some other folks doing some interviews, so he wasn't able to join us this week. So apologize for that, but I'll just jump in and give a little quick synopsis. So we had a decent little 7-day run. So the total market cap, we went from just over 908 billion total market cap. And we jumped up to finally, we're back up over the 1 trillion mark. So we're at $1.016 trillion in total market cap. So a nice little 7-day jump for us. Bitcoin went from $20,390 and sitting over 22,000 a day at 22,200. And HBAR going from 0.062 cents, so just over 6 cents, to just over 7 cents. So a decent little 7-day run in cryptocurrency. There's a lot of chatter out there over, the FUDDers, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Folks are saying, we're going to go back down. Bitcoin's going to go down to 10,000 before it goes up to 30,000. Either of those have yet to be seen, but Bitcoin does seem to be fighting a very staunch battle here at the 20,000 mark. Dipping back and forth over the $20,000 line, but we seem to be maintaining fairly well. Not sure if that's a bottom or, I'm not sure exactly what that means. Of course, there's always room to go in either direction. But right now, we seem to be holding pretty steady, and HBAR holding pretty steady as well. And as far as rank on CoinMarketCap, we're still floating in between that the 35 and 40 rank there, and holding strong in the 6 to 7 cents range. So that's it for the Market Mondays. I'm going to jump right into the HBAR news. Unless anybody's gotten, of course, as per usual, as our normal meetup protocol. If any of the folks in the panel have got questions or want to make comments on any of this stuff, you just got to jump right in there because I keep moving fast. So in HBAR news, so the governing council did announce the results of an election to increase the what they're calling increasing the decentralization of governance over the Hedera network. So they replaced previously permanent executive voting directors on the board with elected representatives from the council and the industry. And so just to give folks a little bit of an idea of the caliber of folks that we're dealing out there and the caliber of the companies that are that essentially own and are and will be building on the Hedera network. So we've got Brian Jeffords, the Senior Director in Identity and Access Management from the Boeing Company. So we've got representatives from Boeing. Scott Teal, of course, folks in the Hedera community are familiar with Scott Teal from DLA Piper. So he is representing the DLA Piper the DLA Piper team. We've got representatives from Avery Dennison. There is a representative from ServiceNow, another huge company. I mean, if folks aren't familiar with ServiceNow, they are a huge player in enterprise CRM. And then so we've got, we have got Cineverse Technologies, not a company that I'm that familiar with, but they brought in not only council members, but they also brought in some independent folks. So this person, this was Monique Morrow from Cineverse Technologies joining the board, and also a representative from IBM Consulting, and a representative from Standard Bank Group. And Standard Bank, for those that aren't familiar, is one of the largest banks on the continent of Africa, and I believe they're headquartered in South Africa. I believe is where their headquarters is. And then, of course, our beloved Brett McDowell is still on the board as well. He is a non-voting, non-affiliated chair elected by the board, but Brett McDowell has been helped as he's essentially been the director and governing the governing council, so to speak, since very early on. So happy to see him there for some continuity as well. There was some news on the quantum computing side. So quantum computing, I don't really, this is one of those pretty heady technology topics, right? But quantum computing came along. I started hearing about it about 2 years ago, and essentially the concern there being that quantum computing and what it's capable of could essentially break cryptocurrency. And what I mean by that is that if quantum computing is capable of overcoming the security, basically the security that's established by the encryption protocols, so there's some concern there. The Hedera team, including Lehman Baird, has come out and said, yes, while quantum computing is incredible, not only are our encryption methods way higher than the industry standards require, that also quantum computing is still quite a ways off. But they did kind of renew their message here with quantum computing. They say that quantum computing poses significant security threats to distributed ledger technologies, and while Hedera is CNSA standard compliant and is generally considered safe from future quantum threats, we're closely following the National Institute of Standards and Technology's ongoing efforts to standardize post-quantum cryptography. So Rob, have you done any deep dives into quantum computing? Are there anything you can shed on light for our users there, and what threats those might pose to cryptocurrency in general?
No, not honestly, no. I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole. I understand that there's companies like Nillion who are kind of going to be addressing that with the technologies that they're developing, using information theoretic secure ways of storing data, right? Which completely appears as random bits of information. So you can't put it together unless you get all the different parts, and it's going to be distributed on a decentralized kind of network. And that's going to be a new future way to store people's, private keys and things like that, so that you can recover them, yourself through a authentication protocol that you kind of designed, right, to do that. So people will have much more power over how to get back their credentials and to be able to use them to sign transactions at that point, and that'll be completely safe from quantum attacks. So.
Right, and so that team.
I also
go ahead. Yeah.
I also checked out something online a while back that the potential threats that we might be facing with quantum computing is that this is quite scary. That when it does look at your public key, that string of letters and numbers, that there's a way that it can deduce your private keys just by looking at the public key. I don't know how true that threat is.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the problem with the public key cryptography is it's a puzzle that you're going to solve, right? And as one solution. So, I mean, you can brute force it with a quantum computer, you can eventually, find the private key that's going to solve that puzzle. And, you don't have that problem with the information theoretic secure, method of storing the data that Nillion is doing, because there's no puzzle to solve like that. So.
Right. So essentially this kind of brute force attack. So I don't remember the numbers I don't remember the numbers that were mentioned, but currently with the encryption, so like the most powerful regular computer, normal Turing computer that we have. So your normal computer, the most powerful one that we've got, right? In order to break, I think it's 200, in order to break the 256-bit encryption, it would take like 20,000 of our most powerful computers, like 20,000 years or something, to break 256-bit encryption. I mean, it's some crazy stupid number like that. Whereas quantum computing, on the other hand, has got so much more computing power that they're afraid that it may be able to actually iterate and kind of do that brute force attack in a reasonable amount of time. However, from what I hear, I mean, quantum computing, now this is 2 years ago, but we're still quite a ways off. So I mean, we're just now. I mean, they're just kind of like, the quantum computing is like it's just like a zygote or something. It's not even an embryo yet. I mean, they've got some theoretical stuff, and from what I understand, Google says that they had some success with their early quantum computing experiments, but we're still quite a ways off from that. So not really something that I've seen as an immediate threat to the cryptocurrency sphere, but certainly, something that's on people's minds as we're looking, as cryptocurrency and these distributed ledger technologies are seen as a way forward in the future. Of course, if there's something threatening on the horizon in the future, of course, we all want to be aware of that. Doesn't really sound like it's too much of a concern yet. And then, like Rob mentioned, these teams and projects, particularly this Nillions project, has been getting a lot of steam and getting a lot of attention within the Hedera network. It's like million, but with an N instead, Nillion. So I recommend people check out Nillions. It's definitely, they're getting a lot of press within the inner Hedera circles and the HBAR folks. People from the HBAR Foundry and stuff are talking about Nillions quite a bit. So if folks are interested in those kinds of things, recommend you take a look.
I'm interested in using their technology and partnering with them and possibly doing a proof of concept, to help our users, right? Not, because it's a real pain to have to, import your wallets and it would be nice to do that, to be able to, answer the security prompts and import all of your wallets and all of your accounts into Wallawallet, automatically without having to type in the seed phrases, verify all that, right? So that's what Nillion can really help us do. It can help us to really drastically improve the user experience there for managing wallets and accounts in Wallawallet. And I'd love to see, something happen there so that we can actually take advantage of what they're doing.
Right. Do you remember it's something like sympathetic computing? I forget what the term that they're using for what Nillions is doing, and how they're. Do you remember what that term was? I don't have it. It's something like asynchronous multi-sympathetic computing or something. I don't have it in my notes here, but
it's SMPC, secure multi-party computing.
Maybe that's probably it. Yes, secure. Yeah. There it is. Secure multi-party computing. Right.
Yeah. So it's billions of times faster than the current protocols for secure multi-party computing. Right. So it can be used more than just storing your credentials, right? So you can. I think it would be really cool to do things like have like a decentralized app store, for example, where you could have different machines hosting your applications and using this new protocol to actually run the applications for you in a secure manner. So no node knows what it's doing or what it's processing, but you know that it's processing it correctly and it's reconstructed on the on a result node, which could be your phone or whatever, right? So it's some really great potential there to really change the way we do things, and you can really get away from people like Google and Amazon and stuff like that eventually, hopefully for hosting applications like that. I would love to see that day come.
Right. Yeah, all of these zero knowledge kind of use cases where we want to be able to prove, just as a basic example, we want to be able to prove who we are. We want there's certain things that people need to know about us, but they don't need to know everything about us. And the common example, of course, that I always like to use is if I go to a gas station or a liquor store and I want to buy a 6-pack of beer, right? They don't, at the liquor store, they don't need to know that my name's Jeremy. They don't need to know exactly how old I am and what birthday I am, where I live, that I'm an organ donor. They don't need to know any of that stuff, right? They just need to know that I am in fact the proper age to legally consume those services, right? So all these kinds of anything that kind of gets us more towards that, giving up less of our information and still getting the services that we want. That is the direction that we're going in. And it sounds like Nillions is going to really be able to provide some solutions there. So we're pretty excited about that one.
Yep.
And this was another one. Fad Magazine was covering Hedera, which is pretty cool. And they're talking. There's a Let's Live with Less Plastic exhibition going on. This is one that speaks to my heart. I mean, there's some questionable environmental tactics that I'll say that are being used, but I will say that that using less and less plastic is something that speaks to me very closely. For one thing, I live in a beautiful city that's just littered. I mean, there's just litter everywhere. Unfortunately, it's a gorgeous city. It's a historic city, but there is just trash everywhere, and it's like plastic bags blowing around. You see them hanging in the trees, and I mean, it's just everywhere. And then, of course, it gets even worse when we start thinking about the oceans and the vast amounts. I mean, these vast, like the plastic patch, the Pacific plastic patch, I think they're calling it. Yes. So I'm glad to see that Fad Magazine is covering this. There's an exhibition in this Let's Live with Less Plastic, and the artists are hosting some of the art and NFTs on the Hedera network. So I'm going to read through some of this because this is a use case and a cause that I do believe strongly about. So plastic pollution is one of the greatest threats facing the planet. It's in the air we breathe. It's in the food that we eat. It's in the water that we drink and in the clothes that we wear. It kills wildlife and pollutes the oceans, and we need to understand this and take whatever actions that we can to help. I use these reusable bags when I'm at the grocery store, and sometimes I kind of joke around. Do you want another? Do you want this? Do you want this thing in a plastic bag to put in your bag? And I'm like, no, I'm saving the world one plastic bag at a time. So I do make concerted efforts. And we were at the grocery store last night, and it was like, okay, I could buy 2 things of cantaloupe in these plastic and probably save 75 cents on these 2 things of cantaloupe in these plastic containers, but I went ahead and bought the actual cantaloupe that has its rind, that is biodegradable, and all those sorts of things. So if you can reduce your use of particularly the single-use plastics, plastic straws, plastic bags, plastic containers, it's just getting way out of hand. We're producing way too much of it. So hopefully folks will keep that in mind. So there's a gentleman by the name of Paul Davis that's created a series of illustrations depicting plastic particulates coursing through parts of our bodies, including the lungs, the circulatory system, the brain, and even the sex organs, posing the question of what will it mean when microplastics cross the blood-brain barrier. So, and then Tom Hodgkinson's, on the other hand, paints an apocalyptic beach scene with a handful of people staring into dried up oceans void of life, as it is reported that 32% of the 78 million tons of plastic packaging created annually is left in our oceans. So this is equivalent to dumping a dump truck filled with plastic into our oceans every minute. While Shanghai depicts the polluted world in which we live in, and rightly declares it is time for a revolution. So this event that's being covered by FAD Magazine includes an online 3D virtual exhibition with Hedera Gallery, built on the Hedera network. And so there's an online art auction with digital versions of the art utilizing distributed ledgers to raise vital funds for plastic pollution and ocean conservation throughout the charity partner. And the charity partner there is Oceanic Global. So check out Oceanic Global. Their work has removed, what is this, 993 million, almost 994 million single-use plastics from entering the ocean long term. And every pound sterling raised will help prevent 1 kilogram of plastic from entering the oceans. So a great cause, and awesome to see Hedera being used to mint NFTs, these art NFTs related to that.
I think I've seen some of their work on LinkedIn. Are they the people who are responsible for cleaning the oceans?
Well, it sounds like there's, at least. Yeah, this sounds like there's one of them. I'm not really all that familiar with Oceanic Global, but I highly recommend people, encourage people to go and check it out. And it looks like they've got a good cause going, and if you can afford to donate to the charity, please do so.
Right.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Lou. Welcome.
Yeah, I don't know. This is relevant at all. There's a local person representing Oceanic. I guess she's
really
probably in charge of the sort of regional activity or something. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. You'll have to connect us, Lou.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. No, that's great. Yeah, we're all, of course, we're, and I did give a shout out to Creative Coast. Creative Coast, our co-host here, where the goal is to create, code, and collide here in the Low Country area of Savannah, Georgia, and the surrounding Low Country coastal areas. So we're right here. We're right here on the Atlantic Ocean, and we suffer from all the pollution that's hitting the oceans just like everybody else does. But it's not isolated to us, and that water moves around, so it's all over the world. Great, Lou. I look forward to connecting with them.
Hey, Jeremy, we're getting some questions on the YouTube channel.
Okay,
so
great.
I want to hold off till the end and address some of them, because I think you're going to get to we're going to talk more about staking, right? There's definitely a question about staking. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I was saving the staking to the choose your own adventure part of our show, which basically I'm there. So the last thing that I had on the HBAR news was that there's a newly updated network overview dashboard provided by Metrica. So it looks like there's a new network overview dashboard available for Hedera. So encourage people to go check that out as well. Looks a pretty nice user experience there. So yes, so the topic of the hour, we have been waiting for staking natively on the Hedera network for quite a while. Of course, Hedera is a proof of stake network, right? So it's not a proof of work network. This is proof of stake, and we're not talking about ribeyes and T-bones. We're talking about stake, S-T-A-K-E, of course. And staking is essentially the process of, or more especially proxy staking is the process of users basically lending their cryptocurrency to a validator or a node, right? So the node is running the distributed ledger software, right? And people essentially lend their crypto to the validator or node in order to increase the weight of that node in determining consensus, right? So this is one of the key elements of decentralization. So if I've got some HBAR cryptocurrency, and Tim and Lou and Caitlin and Rob, we've all got some HBAR cryptocurrency, and let's say Wallawallet's running a node. Currently, only the governing council members are running nodes in Hedera, right? So that's just kind of the way that it started out. This is the way that Hedera has incubated and kind of protected the baby that they're raising, right? Is by initially keeping the nodes centralized, but there's a path to decentralization. And within the not too distant future, they're going to start allowing community nodes, and then eventually they're going to allow anonymous nodes to run the software and to help contribute to the consensus of the distributed network that we're on. And so if Wallawallet or Ledgerama were to host a node, right, we would host a node, and then if all of the people that were using Wallawallet wanted to stake their HBAR cryptocurrency to our node, that would give our node more weight in the consensus. So basically the Hedera network would say, okay, wow, these guys have got quite a bit of the HBAR cryptocurrency staked to their node. So their weight and their basically how they're seeing the network is going to play an important role in the overall consensus of this distributed ledger network. Now, of course, there's a lot of, as people are, and particularly in the technology world and in cryptocurrency are aware, there's all kinds of threats. What if somebody's got too much cryptocurrency staked to a node? Does that make the node too powerful? So on and so forth. There's all kinds of checkpoints and all kinds of things built into the network to ensure that one node doesn't get too much power or too much consensus in order to override or essentially to negate some of the consensus that the other nodes are coming to. But basically, at the end of the day, staking is a key essential part of decentralization, where we are lending our value to the network in order to help it contribute, come to consensus. There's some differences in the Hedera network. Some of the cool differences in Hedera staking. So in many of the networks, when you stake your cryptocurrency, it is locked for a certain period of time. And if you try to withdraw the cryptocurrency before your lock time is up, there's slashing or burning and all these things. Basically, you have to pay. It's kind of like, I think of it like your 401k, right? So if I try and take money out of my 401k, they're going to penalize me, right? If I try and cash out my 401k, not only is the government going to take a big chunk of taxes, anyway, they're going to take an even bigger chunk if I try and pull it out early. Because you get tax breaks for putting money into the 401k in the first place, so they're going to penalize you if you take it out early. Similar thing with staking in many of the networks, but not Hedera. Hedera plays a little bit different game. So the staking on the Hedera network, there's none of this locking, there's none of this slashing, and staking is going live the first phase. So this is a multi-phase approach here. So I'll read this little bit, and then we'll get into the question, and then we'll get into some questions. And I'll let Rob speak to some of these questions as well. So version 0.27 release of Hedera services initiates the first phase of HIP 406. HIPs are the Hedera improvement proposals. Hedera improvement proposal 406 for staking. My understanding is it is the most talked about and most commented on improvement proposal to come across Hedera since these HIPs were initiated. I want to say about a year and a half ago, if I've got my timing right. And they say, as wallets, like Wallawallet, and exchanges roll out client support, users will now have the choice to stake their HBAR to a node. As nodes accumulate stake from both individuals and organizations, they'll become eligible to pay rewards to the stakers. At this point, once the account balance of the primary, the account balance of the account that's going to pay out the rewards. So once that account has crossed a threshold to be set by the Council Coin Committee, rewards will be permanently activated. So this is a multi-phase approach here. So this will set the stage for the second phase of staking, in which a node's contribution to consensus becomes a direct function of its stake, and community nodes with sufficient stake can begin to participate in consensus. And so again, and they recommend, please note the decentralized nature of the process makes it hard to predict exactly when each milestone and phase will be achieved. And we've already kind of ran into that once. We thought that July 14th was going to be the day, so we were going to announce staking last week, but they pushed it back to the 21st. But they have since, they've released another, they've announced another version beyond this 0.27 version of Hedera of Hedera. So I'm pretty confident. We are quite confident now that July 21st is the day where this first phase of staking on the native staking on the Hedera network will be launched. And we are super, super excited to announce that Wallawallet is supporting native HBAR staking right out of the gate. So we have gone through the testing, we've hit it with our hammers, we've watched it squirm and wiggle, and we are confident that we are ready to release this puppy out into the wild. And so within the very near future, Wallawallet will be supporting staking, and I'm going to be releasing a how-to video here. It's all done. I just need to post it up to YouTube, and that'll show folks exactly how to go about the process of configuring staking HBAR within Wallawallet. And the community has just been, I mean, we've been waiting for staking for quite a while. So this is something that we're super excited to support, as I mentioned. This is a big milestone for us, and we're just, you know, it's one of the, I couldn't be more excited for this one. This is one of those big ones where, you know, this, like I said, the community's been waiting for it. We've been waiting for it, and we're going to be supporting it right out of the gate. And one thing, and probably one of the happiest things one of the proudest things that I am, is that it's so simple. It's so easy to do, right? There's a lot of things in cryptocurrency that are hard. This is not one of them. This is one of those things that really in less than 2 minutes, you'll be able to configure staking within Wallawallet, assuming you already have an account set up and all that kind of stuff. And you've got your, you know, as long as you've got an account set up within Wallawallet, the staking is going to be so super simple. It takes less than a couple minutes. All right. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rob. Rob, do you want me to go ahead and share that screenshot of the configuration screen, or do you want to kind of go over the details?
Sure, but one question, one clarification first. I mean, the rewards aren't going to be enabled right off the bat, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we should mention that. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So right. So the way that it was explained to me by folks over at Hedera is that this first phase is kind of where they're launching the staking, and people can stake their HBAR. But the rewards have not been voted on by the council yet. So the rewards and how they're going to be distributed have not been voted on yet. And the account that pays the rewards has not been officially funded yet. So once those two things happen, they're going to turn the lights on, and suddenly staking is live on Hedera with rewards, right? So it'll be live as of this coming Thursday, they're going to launch it. You're going to be able to stake your HBAR. However, there is, like, and thank you for mentioning that, Rob, the caveat that you will not be earning the HBAR rewards just yet, because the governing council has to decide on the rewards and how they're going to be distributed, and the account has to be funded. However, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't go ahead and stake them now. And this is why I brought this to the Hedera folks, because I wanted to see, well, is there really any point in folks staking their HBAR now? Yes, there is. There's an important point. Because if you stake your HBAR now, this is going to help the governing council determine how to fairly distribute the rewards, right? So it's really important that people get on board early, get your HBAR staked, and that way, and I feel like the sooner that we're all on board and that early adopters and Hedera users are staking their HBAR, I feel like that's going to help the governing council make their decisions even quicker. It's going to help them get those votes in and vote on the rewards, so that we can all of us HBAR hodlers out there can start getting our staking rewards back from for holding on to this HBAR diligently, as we have throughout all of the chaos and turmoil that is the cryptocurrency world, right? We've been holding on to our HBAR dearly, and we're finally going to be able to get some rewards for it. So yeah, so it is going to take a little bit. I do not have a timeline on how long it's going to take them to vote and do all those things, but what I can say is that given how much traction and how much emphasis this improvement proposal HIP 406, as much attention as this has gotten, both from devs and community, and we're sitting here talking about it today. So they are quite aware that that the community is hot to trot on it, and so I'm sure that they will get this in our hands ASAP. So Caitlin, what questions have you got coming in from the audience?
I think you might have answered some of them, but the one that's kind of still out there is, Rob, a question for you. Wallawallet team was going to give a feature to update our seed phrase. What's the update on that?
Yeah, that's still future. We're pretty deep in the middle of the NFT work right now, and the user interface and user experience rewrite. So we're working with some other folks now to get that work out there sooner than later. So tentatively, I'm thinking sometime September, maybe October for the next big release. And once that's done, then we can address things like that. Because I really do want Wallawallet also to support the the password for the seed phrases, right? And possibly even importing directly from a private key. But I'm sorry, so I'm just taking a note here so that I remember this. But this was for updating the accounts keys, which is something that eventually we do want to be able to do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's tons of improvements that are essentially while I got a funny comment back a while ago. What did they say? They said essentially we move at the pace of we move at a glacial pace. I think is what they said.
That's going to change. Yes.
And they said that they had been we had been boasting of a feature that was going to be released, and they said, yeah, well, it's taking longer than Brexit, is what they said. for us to get the feature out. But it's been a small, we've been a real small team. It's just been Rob and I, and we've got some help we had some help on the design side, but it's been a long, rough road. So
it has been tough. I've literally done almost all the development myself. I've had to oversee and do all of the work, and I did get kind of burnt out there for a little while. And I'm so thankful now that I'm able to work with some other developers and designers, and now things should pick up speed a lot more come later this year. So.
Right. Not a dead project. I wouldn't be here on YouTube talking about Wallawallet if it was a dead project.
No, so we've sacrificed a lot to get this far. We're definitely not giving up. So
right. Yeah. One of my advisors said, so what's your long-term goal? Are you have you reached burnout? What's your runway looking like? And I said, I'm going to die in this jungle before I give up. So we're not turning around. We're marching on. So
that's right.
Any other questions out there? Even the ones that hopefully even the ones that I may have answered, you can throw them out there.
Okay, so you talked about the ETA for the network staking going live. I believe you said July 1st. That was the question.
No, July 21st. Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, July 21st is when the staking is. So that's version 0.27 of the Hedera services. And that will be July 21st, Thursday, July 21st. So this coming Thursday.
Basically for configuring your staking, right? And then
right. Thank you. Yeah. And as far as the rewards, we do not have an ETA on the rewards, though.
Yeah. So it's like Jeremy said, it's important because if we all configure our staking and then the council sees how much traction there is and how how much excitement there is, then hopefully they'll act a little quicker too. So.
Right.
Okay, so another question, and you did talk about this, who will contribute to the, and I don't think I'm saying it correctly, everyone, I'm new to crypto, but it was the 0.0.800. Hedera will be dependent on public donations for staking rewards. You talked a little bit about that, I believe.
A little bit, yes. So I didn't mention, and that's kind of, yeah, so this 0.0.800 account, so there's been a little bit of confusion out there, right? Don't stake your HBAR to that account. If you're that's one of the, so that is the I'm going to call it the treasury. I don't know. It's like a treasury account basically, where the rewards will be distributed from that account, the 0.0.800 account. but don't stake your, if you send HBAR into it, it's not coming back out. So so don't stake to that account ID. The proper node ID, there is a proper node ID, and I go over this in the tutorial video that we created. But the proper node ID is node uno, node 1. So don't try and stake to node 2, or don't try and stake to account 0.0.800.
Node 1 happens to be the swirlds node, and that actually happens to be right in my hometown or home state of North Carolina. So apparently it's being hosted out of here.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so I'm not trying to say everybody should stake to North Carolina, but you know, the idea is obviously to spread the staking around to the different nodes. So we should be looking up, you know, on Hedera's site, right, to find out what all the different nodes are. And so, you know, you can make that link available, I guess, on our website or something, so that they can go there and find out what all the different node IDs are, which companies are behind them. So you might want to put your weight behind the companies, or, you know, that you believe in, for example. But yeah, the idea is not to give, you know, all the consensus to swirls, right? But although that's probably the better node to give it all to, if we were to choose. So Wallawallet does default to node 1, and but that's not to say that you should stake to node 1. But you probably
initially, though, what I'm getting from, I mean, what I got from the Hedera team, though, is that initially that is the only node that you want to stake to initially.
That's
right?
what
We're
they said.
still in this, yeah, we're still in this early phase. So yeah, node ID 1 is that's what I was told, was that node ID 1 is the proper node ID for now. Right, that's going to change. This is, yeah, this, and as it was mentioned in the little press release, please note the decentralized nature of this process makes it hard to predict exactly when each milestone and phase will be achieved. Yeah, so for now, until I hear back, and until somebody comes from the Hedera team, or you know, basically until somebody from within the Hedera team comes and tells me different, node ID 1 is the proper node ID currently.
Okay, that part I didn't know. So in general, you should stake to a node and not an account ID. If you have multiple accounts and you want to stake to your own account and then stake that account to one node, you know, that's convenient, because if you want to switch nodes, you can switch nodes for all accounts by just changing the node ID for that one account. You know, but in general, if you stake to somebody else's account, then they could collect your rewards.
All right, and can you folks see this on my screen, and hopefully just the one screen?
Yep.
Right. So this is so these are the results of our view staking info button, right? So this is of course you're looking at a testnet developer mode, hence the kind of orange creamsicle background there.
And the pre-UI UX release. So it'll look much nicer in the future versions. But, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So a work in progress, and we are working hard to make the user experience better. We got a lot of feedback on that, and so we're doing our best to make it better. And our next big release after, so we're going to release the support for staking, but then the next big release after that, things are going to look a whole lot different. But yeah, so this is kind of a glance at what the information will look like once you've successfully configured staking. Again, it's in testnet mode, so mainnet mode will look a little bit different without the ugly orange background there. But you can see that we're staked to node ID 1. Well, first off, I'll mention the service fees. So the service fees that are required, generally, most fees in Wallawallet will be paid for from whatever account you select. In settings, you select a payment account to pay the micro fees. In the case of the node configuration, the node configuration fees will come from the account that you're staking from. So at any rate, the little message up there indicates that.
The view staking information charges a fee too, because Hedera charges 1/100 of a penny to get that information from the main nodes. So it's not getting it from the mirror net; it's getting it from the main nodes, so that you can be assured that this is, you know, this is the latest data. So you're not subject to some kind of mirror node lag and you make a wrong decision. So they charge a fee, and I think it's about 1/100 of a penny just to view the information. So every time you click that view button, you'll be prompted to pay that fee. That fee actually comes out of the account that's listed right there on the screen, which is the one that you have configured as your payment account. But when you go to the next screen to actually configure staking, that staking fee, because we do charge a staking fee for Wallawallet to configure staking, and that fee comes out of the account that you're actually staking, and in addition to the Hedera network fees, of course.
Right. So, and it kind of makes sense, because if you're, well, just from a usability standpoint, or, you know, really, if you're going to be staking HBAR from an account, you better have some HBAR. You're not going to do it with something with a zero balance. So you're going to have so you're going to have some HBAR, and it's not a big, I mean, we're not talking about, you know, big fees. These are micro fees, but
Well,
yeah, so
our fee is not as micro, but but the other point I wanted to make quickly before I forget about that too is our fee that we charge only gets charged if the configuration went through successfully. So if it failed for some reason, you won't see that. And it is done as a separate transaction. So there's an additional transaction. It's not done as part of the same transaction. So you'll note that too, that you'll see an additional transaction to pay that fee with a memo that says something like, you know, Wallawallet staking fee or something. But
right. And so there's you notice there's some blank fields here, the staked account ID, the staked account ID. So you can stake your HBAR to other accounts, right? But we're not recommending you do that currently, right? So this is kind of Rob looking, you know, being forward looking into the future and anticipating the things that are going to need the bases that are going to need to be covered. But currently, staked account ID, the period start, the pinning reward, particularly the reward that hasn't been voted on yet. So these things are going to be, so these aspects of your configuration are going to be currently blank because we're not there yet. Do you want to talk about do you want to talk about some of these?
I mean, as far as the staked account ID, you can actually enter in an account ID there and stake to it, and the configuration will update and change, and it will basically blank out your node ID and then fill in the account ID, because you can only stake to one or another. You can't stake to both. And once you set one, you can't currently remove it in Wallawallet either. There's no way to clear it out. You can only then turn the decline staking rewards flag on or off at that point.
Okay.
Yep.
What about the staking period start? I know that, so, you know, at some point that's going to, especially when they actually activate the rewards, that's going to be really important because they do it on a rolling day. So basically you have to have been staked for, I don't remember if it's just past a certain time or it's 24 hours or 12 hours. I don't remember exactly what it is, but basically if you only configure staking for 5 minutes, right, you've got a million HBAR and you stake them for 5 minutes and you want to pull them off real quick, you're not going to get any rewards. You've got to be staked to meet a certain period. So basically this is going to reflect when it was that the staking began.
So I don't know that we really know the period yet. We know what was in the HIP. The HIP used the example of 24 hours, right? So it might still be subject to the council to decide what that period is. And you know, there are there is a couple of important things, or a couple of things to mention that are kind of important from my reading of the documentation, the Hedera documentation. So one is that there will be a max stake per node. So everybody can't just pile in on node 1 if there's more HBAR than there is for the max amount of HBAR for that node configured that you can stake to. So I'm not 100% sure how that works yet. As far as I do know from reading the documentation that if it's oversubscribed and there's too many people there, not everybody is eligible to receive the rewards. So I'm assuming, and I don't know for certain there, and this is just something I just kind of learned today, and I probably should have looked into it a little deeper. But if you look at I'm assuming that when you try to configure and add yourself there to stake to that node, that if you're exceeding that limit, then an exception will be thrown. But I did search the SDK code for a note, at least a status code that would reflect that, and I couldn't find one. So I'm not exactly sure how they're dealing with that. But another important point really would be this idea of collecting the rewards. You can collect them up to 100, on the documentation, it was up to 365 days without a rewards payment being triggered. And there are certain ways to trigger those rewards payments. And some of them include things like, moving HBAR from your account or to that account, for example. The auto renew feature being happening, so your account gets renewed, but that's not yet in effect. And I'm not sure when auto renew is going to go into effect. But if that's not going to be a trigger mechanism, you've got to look through the list on Hedera's site to determine, well, what are the different mechanisms that are going to trigger your rewards payments? Because if for some reason none of those things happen, you don't move money in or out of the account, you don't change the amount of HBAR that's staking to the node, for example, these kind of things. If these triggers aren't met, then the rewards after that 365-day period, according to Hedera's website on staking, you'll only be eligible for the first 365 up to that time. You won't be eligible for receiving the rewards after that period. So
basically don't wait more than a year to get your rewards.
Yeah,
Right.
but to get the rewards, you have to trigger a way to get those rewards, right? And that
Right.
means either moving HBAR in or out of the account. There's a whole list of things on the site, you know. So when your staked account has HBARs transferred to it or debited from it, when you update the staked account to stake to a different node, when you update the staked account to decline rewards, when the total number of HBARs staked to an account changes, when the staked account is auto renewed, which is, like I said, is not in effect yet. So typically, I think that would be the trigger that would make sure that you get paid.
Right.
So then there's when an account staked to this one has its account balance change. So if you have another account that's staked to your account and then that one's going to a node and the other one, you know, account balance change, that would be a trigger. So basically you can continue to collect rewards earned up to 365 days without a rewards payment being triggered. If you go more than 365 days without a rewards payment, you can only collect on the last 365 days. So yeah.
So the easiest way, so to me, out of that whole kind of mishmash of possibilities, the easiest way to me would be to go into Wallawallet, hit configure, unclick earn staking rewards, right? Update. And then go back and configure it again and click. And so basically you will have kind of toggled, right? You'll,
yeah,
you know, you will have toggled and.
While that would be nice for us, that would certainly add us add a lot of fees to us that you wouldn't normally have to pay just by sending a tiny bar or something or an HBAR. I'm not sure if there's a limit if it has to be a full HBAR or if you can.
Oh, I guess that'd be easier.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, well, yeah, if you've got multiple accounts, but if you've only got the one account and you just want to do it real quick, that would be an easy way. But yeah, there would be a couple fees tacked on there that that would go to Wallawallet, and we don't mind a bit. So yeah, so any of the other goodies that we want to cover on the staking before we start coming to the top of the hour?
I think we've pretty much covered the most important points, and whatever we didn't cover should be in that video, I think, because yeah.
Oh yeah, there'll definitely be some more detail, and we're going to be giving people reference links to other documentation regarding HBAR staking, and we'll have some of our own as well. So there'll definitely be more information available as we get closer and closer to the actual date, which again is Thursday, July, not 1st, 21st. I think I did say July 1st. I meant Thursday. July. Yeah, I meant July 21st is what I meant when I said it. But were there any other questions that came in from the audience that we should cover, Caitlin?
Yeah, well, in your defense, I didn't even catch that you said July 1st and that we were well past it. So, but a few other someone, the same person that asked about the funding wanted to clarify. They said, I'm asking who's going to contribute to the 0.0.800. HBAR Foundation will fund that wallet like they supported Stater, I think is what it's called, or Hedera will be dependent on public donations to distribute staking rewards.
My understanding is it's the HBAR Foundation, right?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we really don't know. They haven't made it. They haven't made a decision. That is definitely the foundation is a highly speculated source, right? So that is. So I would not be. I mean, the foundation, they did provide a big chunk of HBAR to the Stater Labs staking. The non-native Hedera staking process or service there, and so I would not be in the least bit surprised to see a big tranche of HBAR coming to that 800 account that's going to be funding the rewards, but certainly generous donors from the community, and possibly in the future. I mean, we really don't know. Again, because of the kind of this is Hedera. Even though we're about 4 years into it, Hedera really still is a startup. We're all startups and we're all kind of figuring this out. Even the almighty Hedera Governing Council is still figuring out how all this stuff is going to work. So I think the answer is we're not 100% sure where the funding is going to be coming from, but there's a lot of speculation that it's going to be the foundation. But it really could come from a number of different sources. And that's a good question. That's something that we're wondering as well. Yeah. How does the Hedera network make this the most sustainable and the most profitable for all parties involved? So, yeah. So these are questions that haven't been answered quite yet, but it's a good question though. We're wondering too.
Here's another one on Wallawallet specifically. When you stake on Wallawallet, will the HBAR remain in my account from the start, or will I send it to a Wallawallet account?
It's always in your account, so you never want to take it out of there. Just leave it in the account. And like Jeremy was saying, or when the staking period, so as long as you don't move the HBAR during that staking period, and the staking period elapses, then you'll get the rewards for having staked it. But if you move any HBAR in that account in that staking period won't count, and you won't be eligible for the rewards.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then, okay.
So don't send any money to our Wallawallet accounts, right? So we do have a fee account. We have some accounts that some people might know about. You don't want to be sending any HBAR to us. You just want to configure the staking using the user interface.
You can send us HBAR if you want to, but not for staking. Yeah, no. So yeah, that'll all come from the account. And again, there's no lockup period or any of that. But again, you do have to have at least HBAR staked. Now, the rules of the road exactly are still a little unclear, but we're finding out more every day.
Okay, so other question is, Jeremy, do you have any tips on making my beard look nice like yours?
Ah, yes, my luscious beard. You know, as far as I don't really have any, I don't know, I just wash it, you know, let it grow and keep it clean. You know, if it's dirty, it doesn't have that luster and the life that it has. You know, you got to keep it clean and let it go. That's about the best. I'm not going to sing the song from Frozen, but you got to let it go.
I had a beard just like that the other day, and I shaved it off just for this event. So now I regret it.
Yeah. Well, you know, beards are in. I mean, you know, when the pandemic hit, it was like we were all on lockdown, and it just suddenly I noticed it. It wasn't just me. I mean, it was getting pretty unruly. I wasn't going to shave or trim the beard until the pandemic and the lockdowns were over. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. But at some point, my wife was like, "Man, you got to get rid of that thing." It was just getting too crazy. He couldn't find my face in the amongst all the beard. So, but yeah, I mean, you see it on, you know, baseball players, you know, football, the sports and movies. So, you know, beards are in. So, I don't know. You might have to be Scottish or something. I don't know. That's Scottish family background. I don't know. We tend to grow good beards, and if you're from Scotland or Ireland, you might be able to grow a decent beard. I don't know.
Okay, I think that's it.
All right. Any other?
Giveaway.
So any other?
Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions or
giveaways?
Yes, of course. Any other questions or news coming in from the panel before I move on to my favorite part of the show, where we get to give away tokens? All right. So let me see. So since we didn't do a token giveaway last week, I wanted to double up this week. We normally give out 10,000 jam tokens. So before I jump into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to all the folks that make this possible. Well, not all of them, because I don't have the time, and I probably don't even remember who all makes this possible every day. But again, a big shout out to Caitlin Lance over at Creative Coast, our lovely co-host, and Jen Bonet, the director of Creative Coast as well. The Creative Coast folks have been standing right by Ledgerama, helping us through this whole crazy startup process ever since the beginning. You know, Rob and I both came from the enterprise world, so this is my first venture into the startup entrepreneur world, and I think it's Rob, maybe not his first, but it's definitely the most serious endeavor into the startups that we've ever had. So Creative Coast has been there helping us all along the way. And that's how Lou and I met. I've met some good close friends here in the Low Country area, and it's been through Creative Coast. So we're proud to support them in any way we can. And I want to give a big shout out to Andrew Antar and the Tune.fm team. Andrew, through his generosity, gave us a big tranche of these jam tokens to support them and to support our users. So many thanks to Andrew Antar and the Tune.fm team. Many thanks to my main man in Kenya, Tim Mungai, and Lou Fang. Thanks for joining us. And I just appreciate it. And of course, the audience, all of our early adopters, all of our fans, all of our users. We could not and would not do this without you. So we super appreciate that. You know, give us a subscribe, give us a like, drop us a line. And if you want to join our early adopters or our Wallawallet VIP group, we're cooking up some awesome rewards, and we need your help. So if you could join us, we certainly appreciate that. And without further ado, I'm going to give, every week we do this via Twitter. Let me go ahead and take the screenshot off, so that way we can actually see all of our folks here. All right, there we go. All right. So, and I do this every week. So if you follow us on Twitter, basically the way that it goes, if you want to enter a chance to win Jam tokens, you just got to follow us on Twitter. You got to like and retweet.
So Jeremy, what about all those poor people like me who are banned from Twitter? What do they do?
Stop getting banned from Twitter. No, no. So that is something that I want to do. I want to get into where we're monitoring both Discord and we're doing Twitter. We're doing Telegram. I want to pull in people. I'm not particularly partial to Twitter. It's one of those, it's a great platform for what it is. And it happens to have some of the easiest tooling around. So our Twitter picker and it's just basically, it's the easiest way and the most accessible way for us to get access to these, to get handles and to do it in an anonymous fashion such that we're not just picking people at random ourselves and, maybe getting prejudiced or anything like that. So there's just a lot of really easy tooling around Twitter, but yeah. So Rob, I am all for doing it with different platforms. We just got to get there. It's
Maybe Hedera,
yeah, like many things, it's a work in progress. Okay, so without further ado, we have two winners. So both for 10,000 Jam tokens, we have at E Emeralds, so E_Meralds, so at Emeralds, and at Bolu Watif, I don't know how to say it, at Bolu Watifid. I don't know, I'm not sure what that is or what that means or if it's a reference to something else, but at BOLUWATIFEDE. So at Emeralds and at Bolu something. You guys are our Twitter winners. They're winners of the 10,000. So a total of 20,000, 10,000 to each of you. We'll be reaching out to you on Twitter here in the very near future in the course of the next couple hours. And, basically you just get Jam associated to your Wallawallet and let us know. And we're going to send you, but I'll be reaching out to you directly via Twitter and we'll help you get those Jam tokens. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this awesome Alternative Money Mondays. Big news in the Hedera world and big news for Wallawallet and all of our users. So can't thank you enough. And without further ado, then I will go ahead and sign off and we'll say, see you next week, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
And don't forget to check out our channel and drop a like, watch our content and comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts, everybody.
Yes, please, comments. Yeah, those are hugely important. All those YouTube comments come in. It really comments on everywhere. Telegram, Discord, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. But yeah, drop us a like, give us a subscribe. But those comments especially, we need that, we need your feedback. So keep it coming. Thanks, Tim. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.